Hi everyone, I'm Rochelle with Vrai, and today I'm here with Captain Will Smith. I'm very excited to bring him to the table. He is a two-time published author. He's also a private pilot and a consultant, and he has a lot of great knowledge to share. He also has a very inspirational message. I hope that this lifts you up and gives you some sort of inspiration for your day and for your business and for your personal life. And hopefully you can help share and spread his message. Welcome, Captain Will Smith.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yes, my pleasure. I can't remember how we first connected. I know that I was searching for great people to have on the show. We both have some ties in Tampa, both have some ties to the pilot life. So I'm not sure how we got connected, but maybe it's a God thing. And I'm just really happy that we did, because I can't wait to read your books. I haven't read them yet, but I have read up on you and I understand your message and your journey. So I want to start there with what got you to this point. You know, what you had some pretty dark days.
I did. And the darkest hour, it was kind of like it was a test for me, because when you're going through something in life and everybody goes through where you feel like you have no one around you, that everyone's abandoned you. I even thought God abandoned me. I thought that he didn't exist. I questioned my religion. I was like, how could this happen to someone? You know, what did I do? And I started blaming myself. And I know a lot of people everyone has a struggle that they go through in life where they've lost a lot. Mine was an incarceration. It was a wrongful incarceration, but incarceration nonetheless. And I had to fight 26 months inside a prison cell to prove my innocence and be allowed to be released and return to society. This was, you hear the old cliche, you know, walking through hell with gasoline drawers on. That's what I felt like, because I had to protect myself. I had to defend myself, but at the same time, I had to keep my mind straight and I had to keep my focus on what I was doing. I wanted to give up 100 times. And I share messages now with people. If, you know, it's not, and you always hear this, that God's putting you through this hard time because he's making something better. I didn't see it at the time. I was like, I turned my back. I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't want to read the Bible. I didn't want to pray. I didn't want to do anything. I felt like it's just me here. I'm going to do this on my own. Hindsight, I'm looking back now. This was back in 2001, 2004 was when I fell. Now I look at it, if that hadn't happened, where would I be? I wouldn't be the place I'm in now. I wouldn't own 2 different companies. I wouldn't be a public speaker. I wouldn't be an author. I wouldn't have the things that I have today if that specific moment in time that God said, yep, I'm putting you in this, you're going to get through it. He didn't communicate any of this to me, and he won't, but I'm going to see you through this. And he did. And I'm grateful. And when people ask me, would you have done anything to change? Absolutely not. Because if I had not gone through that, if I was not strong enough to go through that, I wouldn't have been to where I am today. I wouldn't have had the opportunity that I have today to help other people. And I do this. I help other inmates when they're coming out make it through that 3-year struggle by giving them a life coach. Everybody in life needs some type of coach to kind of help them. Even people that are recovering from alcohol or drugs, they have a sponsor or a coach that helps them get through day to day. And I talk to a lot of people that are overcoming alcohol. And I simply tell them, hey guys, it's okay to drink tomorrow, just don't drink today. And if you keep that mantra inside your head, that'll allow you to make it through that day, because no one is guaranteed tomorrow. I started by digging ditches. When I was released from prison, if anybody's listening that's getting out of prison and struggling like I did, hey, we've been there, done that. Doors were slammed in my face, but I didn't let that set me back. I have a motto in one of my books, Stitches to Riches: if you can't find a job, make a job. You know, go mow some grass, start washing windows. I know people that own very successful window washing companies right now, starting at doing it with a pail of water and a squeegee. And now they're making over six figures and broadening their horizons with their company. So it can be done, but you have to go through those hurdles. You have to overcome those obstacles in order to get where you want to be. And life isn't easy. And it's one of these things I teach to my kids. We need to teach our kids to fail and learn how to fail. Because if they don't fail, if people don't fail in life, they're never going to succeed. It's kind of like the yin and the yang. You don't know hot unless you've experienced cold. You can't experience success unless you've failed. Ask any successful business owner how many times they failed. Because when we see someone at a successful business, whether it be a restaurant business, whether it be an author, whether it be an actor, they didn't just wake up the next day and were, here's $1 million salary and here's this great company that you own. It takes decades. It took me over 10 years to go from digging ditches out of prison to flying corporate jets, to do motivational speaking, to become a published author. And I'm still improving and I'm still working. One of the exciting things now that's happening in the Tampa Bay area is my book, Falling from the Sky, is becoming a movie. I sat down and had a great talk with David Yates, which was the producer for Dolphin's Tale. He produced 2 movies. He's getting behind this book, and we're going to film it in the Tampa Bay and bring the filming industry back to Tampa Bay, bring awareness to wrongful imprisonment, bring awareness to how corrupt the judicial system is. It's more than just a movie. I mean, this is kind of like a movement. And it's just, it's more about emotion, because I always tell everybody emotion stays in motion. So, what's happening and what's going on in your life, if you're sad, wait a minute, you're not going to be sad forever. If you're struggling and you're frustrated, wait a minute, it's an emotion, it's in motion. That time will pass. I know at the time it's frustrating, but I never thought when I was released from prison, when I was digging ditches in the Florida sun, that I would be writing a book. Moreover, the book become a movie. I mean, imagine that. I mean, that's just crazy. And that's just the Captain Will Smith side of, helping people and working and allowing them to have the skill set and develop the skill sets within themselves to become successful in what they want to do and find their passion. And then I have the whole aviation thing over here on the left. And that's people that have reached their success in life that want to buy a corporate aircraft and a plane. I educate them so they don't make a $100,000 mistake. And like we were speaking early, in aviation, when you make a mistake, it's not a couple $100, it's a couple $100,000. So you have to be really wise in what you're doing. And I have over 23 years of experience in that industry, and I share that knowledge. So I'm a real big advocate of paying it forward, especially paying knowledge forward, because there's no need to rewrite the book when you can share your knowledge. That's why we have textbooks in school. We're learning from someone that's already gone down that road. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. So there's a lot going on post-COVID. I know there's a lot of people that are struggling. Don't think that you've been abandoned. Don't think God doesn't have a plan for you, because one of my biggest things I talk about when I start my speaks, if someone's asked me to come speak for them, is I'm going through this right now. What is your struggle? This is not a failure. This is the foundation to your success. That's what your struggle is. And if I can just get people to start seeing that and understanding that, they'll take on struggles. They'll be like, oh, let me find another one. Because it's so exciting to see. It's planting the seed and watching it grow. The struggle is the seed. The struggle is the foundation. The success is the growth of what you planted. The success is the building that you've created on that foundation. So with me being able to reach out to people and helping them post-COVID, I think, and I'm hoping, and I know that my one book, motivational book, Ditches to Riches, I have a 7-step program. Why 7? Because 7 is the number of completion. So as you read through the book, it talks about different things that people go through, whether you're overcoming addiction, divorce, you went bankrupt, coming out of prison. Everybody's dealt with something in their life that's made them think, I just want to throw my hands up and just say, forget it. Don't do that, because this is an opportunity to build success in what you want to
do. That's all amazing insight. And I, for one of the things that I've shared very openly on the Docuseries is I've been through divorce. I've been through losing business partners. I've been through bankruptcy. I have been through a lot of dark moments that have blossomed into something beautiful. And we wouldn't be here today if I hadn't gone through those things.
Right.
Because I was called to be a storyteller so that other people didn't feel alone when they're going through those transitions, because that's really what it is. It's not a stop start, it's a transition. It's a forming of our better selves. And that's why I wanted to have you here today, because it's so critical that we talk about the person behind the entrepreneur. And so that in order to get to our true north, sometimes we get to choose our direction, and sometimes if we're going the wrong way, I think we kind of get hit a little bit to get back on the right path. And maybe it's just physics, you know, like we don't belong that way. But talk to us a little bit about when you were incarcerated. And I imagine, I can't actually imagine how lonely and abandoned you must have felt at times. Was there someone in your life that was supporting you and believing in you and checking in on you regularly? Or was there a certain moment in time where you said, that's it, I'm tired of being down on myself, I'm not going to let this get me? Talk to us a little bit about that personal journey.
Yes, at the first thing, we're talking about emotions. Emotions are in motion, is fear. When you're finally told that you're going to spend a portion of your life behind bars, the first thing that you're overcoming is that fear, and making it through that, because you don't know what to expect. My support came in a little bit afterwards, because I had to mentally deal with what was going on inside me. I had to compartmentalize my emotion and say, okay, this is what I'm confronted with. There's no pushing pause. There's no, I don't want this. Let me take this other path. It was in front of me. I had to deal with it. So leaning into your fears and leaning into the obstacles that are in front of you, this is your way of saying, okay, we got to do this to start this foundation, to start this process. My two biggest advocates, of course, number one was my mother. She was there every weekend to visit me, to let me know what was going on the outside. And she told me, she goes, when you left that courtroom, it was kind of like that you had died. And that's the emotion that my supporters, I had the courtroom full of people that believed in me, knew this was bogus and I shouldn't be there. Even the bailiffs were on my side. So it was a very emotional time for them. It was kind of like I was ripped out of society. No one saw me. The only way you could communicate would be letter. But the first 60 days, I couldn't even really write letters because I was going through a processing. So I didn't really get to see anybody. The first human being I was able to hug was almost 3 months later when I got on state, and that was, of course, my mother came to visit me. I had advocates outside of the prison. One of them he's in the book Falling from the Sky, Larry, and he stood up and said, we're not going to allow this to happen. And then he got with other advocates, and these other advocates got together, and we created more from that. So with the advocates that we had, we were able to launch a website. We were able to get the news media involved, and we were able to allow this judge removed from the bench because of her actions. And we found out through our research and the advocacy parts that this judge had been cited several times by the Supreme Court justices of her wrongdoing. So through that, yes, I had an advocacy. I had support. It was family support. But in anything that you're going through, if you're recovering from an addiction, if you're coming out of prison, if you're struggling or overcoming a failed business, a bankruptcy, The people that you surround yourself with are going to be the influencers. And I speak a lot in my second book, Ditches to Riches. If you want to be a barfly, hang out at a bar. If you want to be a pilot, hang out with pilots in an airport, because the people that you surround yourself with are the same people that are going to help you and support you to help you reach your goals. And this is a big change when you've been making bad decisions or have bad habits that, the laws of attraction, if you hang around negative people, negative things are going to happen. If you hang around positive people, positive things are going to happen. So I really talk about this a lot. You really need to change your people, places, and things. If you found yourself in a bad area or a bad situation in life, look around you, because it's probably quite possible that you surrounded yourself with the wrong people. And I speak of that a lot. And when I do my public speaking, I talk about that a lot. And you can see lives change, right in front of you when it's kind of like their eyes open up, like the uh-oh moment or the wahoo moment, or, they get it finally. And that's when I know I've connected with someone.
That's, it's very relatable, because I think about, first of all, you're now in my circle, so welcome. And, that's one of the things that I get from this, is surrounding myself with people who keep me going. Because I think like attracts like, and I want to be that person for the other people in my circle as well, to keep lifting each other up. The other tough part of trying to surround yourself with like-minded individuals is letting go of the people and other influences and the bad weight that keeps us from growing. And I think that's really hard. And I'm sure that in prison, like any small community, you're going to have a very, a variety of personalities.
Yeah.
Did you know many people in there that, like you, felt inspired to make change happen, or do you think a lot of them just stayed in that rut?
Well, in order to create change, people have to want to change. Mm-hmm. So if they don't want it, they're not going to, they're not going to do it. Some people just are there because that's their way of life. They don't know anything better, and they will probably never change. So on the back of the book, Ditches to Riches, what will it take to change your life? And that is the key word, is change. I knew at the time I had to become an asset, and by doing so, allowed that 26 months to pass quicker than I thought it was going to. But at the same time, once I was released and I saw there was a need, that's when I started thinking about, okay, how do I fill this niche? How do I fill this need? How do I talk to people and communicate with people that have probably never had someone to look up to? And how do we reduce the recidivism rate? And how do we get these people that have gone down the wrong path back on track? If I can do it, anyone can do it. So that's why I had to write the second book.
I was thinking about transition while you were talking, and the time that you were in prison. And I know you've got this life after that, but I know this was the moment that really changed. And like you said, it's like that pinnacle moment that you wouldn't be here if you didn't have that. I think a lot of people think about transition as, once I decide to do it, it's going to happen. But this long time frame went for you to be able to get out and start your life again. But the life starting actually happened internally. There was a mind shift that happened while you were there. And I think that's what people need to understand, is that you have this, you've got to change your mind. You've got to want it. You've got to envision it actually happening. And it's going to take time. Sometimes it'll happen overnight, but not always. And the opportunities came to you after you got out there and you wrote your story and you began to share. And I think that's the other thing, is when people hold in this, whether it's shame or fear, judgment, that's not allowing them to receive the good opportunities. They kind of need to let it out. Let people know what they want to do and what they want to become, and believe in themselves that they can. Can you speak a little bit more about your transition there?
Yeah, that transition is, yes, if you have you need to talk to someone about what's going on inside, because we all know from a psychological aspect, if you hold things in, it's very toxic to you. So you have to get that out. Some people do it by talking to therapists. Some people, me, I'm a ham. I get up in front of stage and talk to 100 people, and it doesn't bother me. But some people can't do that. I've known a lot of authors. I just finished speaking at a book signing to where they were going through struggles in life where it was 8 women that had 45-day challenge to write a book, and they told their story by writing their book. And they're experiencing some awesome changes in their life now by doing it. Now, I'm not saying as soon as you get out, write a book, because writing a book is not cheap. You have to work your way there. For me, my situation was circumstantial because I had to overcome what was in front of me when I got out, because people will judge you as soon as they hear of something like my story of getting out of prison. But how do you go from digging ditches in the Florida sun to flying a $50 million jet? And that's the whole thing. You have to be really strong-willed. The reason I got to where I am today is you have to let go of the past. And one of the things that I tell people, if you're constantly looking in the rearview mirror, you can't move forward. You really have to cut that off and say, okay, this was a moment in my life that happened. I'm done with it. Once you get it out and you've addressed it and you're comfortable with it, then let it go. I was down in Jamaica, and this Rasta walked up to me on a beach, and he came up to me, and for some reason, their religion, they can tell when someone's stressed. And he said to me, he goes, I want you to put all your worries in this circle. And he drew a circle in the sand. And he says, just write those worries there now. And we sat there and we talked a little bit. And as we were talking, the tide was coming in. And before I knew it, I looked back and my circle was gone. And he says, you see what just happened? And I was like, yeah, the water washed my circle away. He said, it not only washed your circle away, Will, it also washed your problems away. They're gone now. Stop resonating on them. Move forward. Think about what you have in the future and stop holding on to the past.
Mm. That's magic.
Yeah, and it works. And a lot of people hold on to the past, and they need to stop doing it.
Yeah. I mean, you can honor it, right, without holding on and harboring resentment, letting the judgment in. I talk a lot about judgment on the calls and interviews that I have, because it's something that hinders me. It's one of the things, it's like one of my triggers that keeps me from moving forward. The what if they don't like it? What if I say the wrong thing? And I've learned this progress over perfection kind of mantra that helps me just say, be the best you can be in that moment and stop judging yourself, because that's really what it comes down to. And let your true talents shine through. Focus on what you're really good at, because that is where the magic happens. I think people tend to try to be all things to all people, when we go back to talking about entrepreneurs, but when you really focus on what you're really good at, your passion continues to shine, and it's more fun. And I think it's more fulfilling.
Yep. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, you got to get out of the way of yourself, and a lot of people don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Because they beat themselves up and they don't give themselves an opportunity to succeed. And if you're constantly beating yourself up, it's like planting a seed. If you don't water it, if you go over and walk on it all the time, is it going to grow? No, it's not. You have to take care of it. You got to water it. You got to get out of the way. You got to pull the weeds away from it. Mm-hmm. Don't let the weeds overtake the plant, or it's not going to grow. And you got to look at yourself. Keep yourself out of the weeds. Don't surround yourself by negative people, and you will see yourself prosper. If you take care of yourself, positive things will happen. And one of the big things was, alcohol. It's just people that daily drink because of stressors in life, they're really holding themselves back with that because they're not thinking with a clear mind the next morning. I've, been absent from alcohol for quite some time, and I like waking up at 6:30 in the morning feeling like I can conquer the world. What I don't miss is waking up groggy and having to drink a pot of coffee to wake up. So, it's about, what you do, how you address yourself, and how you address the problems in front of you that are going to allow you to succeed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people through COVID, and we've seen that the statistics are there, the alcoholism is up. Liquor stores were, they were doing great during the pandemic. And
right, yeah.
it's not healthy. But, you know, I'm guilty too. Like just, you know, wine was the thing that I didn't turn to necessarily, but it just became my entertainment. And that's, you know, you couldn't go out, you know, in mid-Michigan, the world was closed for quite some time. So couldn't get together with our friends. So we had wine Zoom calls, you know, to hang out. But yeah, it can go too far. And, you know, it comes back to self-love and believing in yourself and having self-discipline. Because I think a lot of people look at where you are now and you have to tell your story of how you got here because it didn't happen overnight. And
no, it didn't. And yeah,
doesn't.
It's not going to. One of the biggest messages: success does not happen overnight. It takes years for it to happen. So, but you know, you got to stick by it. You can't bounce. You can't be a random person. I talk about random, routine, reflective people. Random people bounce from job to job. They never stay. They're always making the same hourly wage. They're job oriented. They're not career oriented. Reflective people reflect back on their day, how they could better their day, and these are the success stories that you hear. And random people are just happy with where they are. If they've got an $80,000 a year job, they just want to do their time, retire, and relax. There's nothing wrong with that, but don't be random with what you do because you're never making any forward movement. It's always lateral movement.
Yeah, I mean, there is that party of people who are very content, and so we won't judge them. But if you want to be like we are, which is highly motivated to make change happen, and that's where we get joy, then just know it's a process and it is a daily discipline of, you know, I have a vision board. I talk about the law of attraction. You know, if you think about having just good juju all day long, believe me, I'm human and I have my ups and downs. I'm mothering 4 boys and running to soccer games and baseball games and doctor's appointments. And it's a juggle to be an entrepreneur, whether you're a parent or your life is full of whatever obligations you may have. But it takes discipline for myself, for me to say every day, this is my personal goal. I've got to make time to work out. I've got to eat healthy. I'm going to show up for this interview. This is important. Your time is valuable. And time to me is the greatest gift.
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah.
Sure is. Use it wisely.
Yes, exactly. And I know we could talk probably for another couple of hours, but we'll definitely connect in Tampa when I'm back down there.
Okay. Yep.
I want to have you leave us with one good nugget. What do you want us to know today? Like what's conjuring up for you, like you have to say to us to inspire us today?
Well, a lot of people I notice don't know how to get out of the way of themselves. And, you know, it's all about who you surround yourself with. So, you know, by giving, you will receive. So, you know, do a random act of kindness because that feeling goes a long way. And the more you do it, the more you receive it. And it just falls back on the laws of attraction. You know, ask yourself this question, and I pose this to a lot of people. Are you altruistic or egotistic? And you got to think about that. Because if you do something nice for someone and then brag about it to everyone else, that's not altruistic. You do something nice for someone, don't tell anybody because it's about them. It's not about how other people look at you for doing that kind act, because then you take it off of them and you put it back on yourself. So, you know, go out and perform a random act of kindness for someone and, you know, and from that step, make many more.
Great advice. Great advice. Let's do it.
All right. Awesome.
Thank you so much, Captain Will Smith. I will definitely be in touch. Have a great day, everybody.